On today's episode, we take a look at the new movie Ocean's 8. What is up, world? Welcome to What We Watched. I am Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. And today we are going to take a look at the brand new movie Ocean's 8, which comes out this weekend. First off, there are no spoilers for this review, so if you haven't seen the movie, totally feel fine. Just keep watching this video. We won't be giving away too much, just our general thoughts on the movie. So first off, I very much enjoyed this movie. I was going in a little bit skeptical. I wasn't sure if this was going to be some sort of alternate reality version, where it was going to be like Danielle Ocean, and it was just kind of going to take, almost rip off a lot of the Ocean's movies and kind of do their own thing just with an all-female cast. But the cast, first off, is incredible from top to bottom. The actresses and actors do so well from start to finish. It's just a very well done movie, and it has an Ocean's feel, which is probably my biggest takeaway from this movie, is that it felt like an extension of Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. It didn't feel like it was trying to replace it or gender swap it. It did feel like it had the heart and soul of what makes a good Ocean's movie. Now, for me, the Ocean's movies are some of the best movies that I've ever seen, especially 11 and 13. I like 12, but 11 and 13 are probably in my top 50, if not 100 movies of all time. And I really enjoy the writing, the directing, the soundtrack, the script. All of it is just so good and so enjoyable. I can put them on and watch them at any time. And so the biggest compliment I can give this film is that it is an Ocean's movie. It threads in nicely enough to where they're not just using it to where they're trying to get away with being an okay movie and saying, hey, look, propping up Ocean's, Ocean's 11, 12, and 13 material, just to be like, we're just like them, and trying to kind of sneak in and use the collateral that is the Ocean's franchise to get a pass. But it adds its own side of the story while still being respectful to the previous films. I was very impressed with how they were able to thread in a completely different story with completely different characters, but still make it feel like it was part of the Ocean's franchise. When it comes to the editing of the film, the way that the film was written, and the way that it was directed, and even the delivery of a lot of the different actresses. One thing I will say is you can kind of pinpoint a few people where, oh, they're trying to be the Brad Pitt, or they're trying to be the George Clooney, where it was a little bit heavy-handed, and I felt like they might have leaned a little bit too much on the fact that you've seen the other movies and you're trying to kind of make a female version of who those people were. A lot of the characters were somewhat caricatures of what was going on in previous films, but if we're really honest, that happened in Ocean's 11, 12, and 13, where they were kind of a one-frame character because you have 12 or more characters that you want to build off of. And so the original Ocean's movies still had that flaw, but this one maybe just seemed more apparent because we're not used to these characters and they're all new, and there's something incredibly obvious that they're basing it off of when we go to the original Ocean's movies. But they all are great characters in their own right, and if I were entirely honest, I would say that this is part of the Ocean's franchise. So, for example, I have trouble saying that the new all-female cast Ghostbusters is a part of the Ghostbusters franchise, just because the overall tone of the movie was so drastically different. Yes, you had similar characters in similar situations, but the way that it looked, the way that it felt, the way that it sounded just wasn't the same. And even somewhat with the new Star Wars films, there's a definite void there between the originals and what's new, which is causing a lot of tension. But I would say that if you did not know 20 years from now that the order that these movies came out, you would put Ocean's 8 in there with the rest of the grouping. So I'm actually really excited. I would love to see maybe even a sequel with this movie and kind of see what direction they go with. The story was really great, had a very good Ocean's feel to it. It wasn't perfect and it wasn't mind-blowing. It is not my favorite Ocean's movie, but like I said, the biggest compliment I can give this film is the fact that I would consider it an Ocean's movie and put it right there with 11, 12, and 13. I would consider this a canon part of the franchise, something that fits in with the rest of them and that I will enjoy probably just as much as the others. Maybe not as much, but in that same ballpark. For me, going into this movie, not knowing if I was going to like it at all, that's a definite win. So that's my initial thoughts on Ocean's 8. What do you guys think? Have you seen it yet? Are you planning on seeing it? Also, let me know, what is your favorite Ocean's movie? Surprisingly, 11's probably my favorite, and then 13 is really close. I really enjoyed 13, and 12 was good as well, but 13 might actually be my favorite Ocean's movie. But what's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, just a quick reminder, if you want to see my initial thoughts and reactions to a ton of different movies, you need to get Stardust. Stardust is a great app that combines kind of Instagram and Snapchat, where you can review movies in 30 seconds and you can interact with a great community of people who also love movies and TV shows and kind of get their just general reaction. Maybe not so polished, maybe not so set up like we have here, but it's a really great opportunity just to kind of respond and interact with other creators and talk about movies and TV shows that you like. So make sure that you download the app. The link just is in the description below, so make sure that you check that out. Alright, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I am Matt, and I will see you guys on Monday.